Welcome to A Corporate Time with Tom and Dan. I'm Tom.
I am Dan. Samantha, our producers here. Hello, Sam.
Hello.
We got a guest, but let's get our business out of the way first, because sometimes we got to tell you the things, the events that are going on in the city.
Yeah, Spark STEM Fest next weekend, February 17th through 20th, and also Science Night Live on February 18th.
Yes, sir.
If you want to check that out, that's for adults only. And the Sanford Porch Fest is the 25th, and our ART&D is going to be involved, so it's completely free.
Yeah.
So come out to Sanford
We
for
are
that.
porch number 14 out of like 22 to 25 different porches, so come through Sanford and see us. We got a guest on the line if you're looking for something to do this weekend. He's got 2 shows Friday, 2 shows Saturday at theimprovorlando.com. On the line with us right now is Damon Williams. How you doing, man?
Hey, man, good to be here. Good to be in Orlando. Considering I live in Chicago,
Right
I'm looking
on.
forward to it.
Yeah. How is the weather in Chicago right now? Well, not only are you from Chicago, it's like after reading your bio and seeing what you've been celebrating there, it's almost like you are Chicago, man. Congratulations on 30 years.
Hey, thanks, man, and thanks for doing a little research. I appreciate it. Sometimes we come on these shows and they're like, "Who? Damon Wayans? Wait a minute, who are we talking to?"
I know.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
well, let's talk about that for a second. You said it. We didn't. Sam, our producer, was doing a ton of research, and then I was watching videos, and Tom's watching videos, and Sam came across one where they were just getting your name wrong
Yeah.
all the time, and it's not that hard to just say Damon Williams. Do you find that in doing this 30 years, I'm sure you've seen media make their fair share of
man.
mistakes?
Yeah, and unscrupulous promoters kind of blurring the last name, so people Damon Wayans will be here this weekend. So that way they get both fan bases. But after 30 years, I've established my identity. I just make fun with that. I always say he spells his name with more zeros. But I'm working on that as well.
Well, you're doing good, man. I mean, I remember you. I think one of the first times I saw him, Tom, sorry to interrupt, was I think you were hosting the Improv, or no, the Apollo. You did Apollo like years ago. I remember you guesting the Apollo, and that, I mean, it doesn't really get much bigger than that, does it?
Absolutely. And I was right after Steve Harvey, and they were narrowing down the next host, and it was between me, myself, Rudy Rush, and Teddy Carpenter. And Rudy got it. He's a New York guy, and he did a great job. But it was an honor and a pleasure to at least conquer that Apollo stage and that audience. You know what I mean? Because they had no idea that they were going to be guest hosts. They were expecting Steve Harvey. So what I did is I went out and introduced myself to the audience while they were still in line, from the front to the back, and made jokes and made friends like I was running for office. I was kissing babies and passing out water.
That's brilliant, man. Setting yourself up for success.
Damon,
Absolutely.
Over the 30 years of stand-up comedy, like, so much has changed, and the way you promote yourself, the way even the business goes, and I'm just curious to what you've seen the biggest changes, or what the biggest changes that you've seen in the past 30 years, and what do you think has the biggest impact on just the business of stand-up comedy itself?
Well, first, the biggest changes is if you do comedy 30 years, eventually you're going to see people come in walkers. But beyond that, my audience gets older. But the change is you have to be more socially conscious and more conscious and aware of the sensitivity and sensibility of the public at large. Nowadays, the cancel culture has us jumping around topics to an extent. I feel like nothing is sacred. I feel like if you do it with tact and you make the person laugh, even if it's their lifestyle you're talking about, if it's funny to them, then you can get away with the joke. But beyond that, social media has played a huge part. I mean, just doing this, radio, we have to do radio in person or call in, and people hear the distorted voice. And then, of course, if you don't have the numbers in social media, that tends to reflect poorly with promoters. So sometimes you don't get gigs. So that's the biggest change, the way we promote the game, like you mentioned.
Well, you got good numbers, man. I mean, probably because, again, you've been doing this so long. I mean, I was lucky. I got, not good, but okay numbers in social media. But you're right. Sometimes clubs and different places you're trying to break into will just pass on you just because they look at your social and maybe they're not feeling it, or maybe you don't have, in their mind, the correct amount of followers or numbers. But, yeah, you're doing all right, man. Looking at your Instagram, it's pretty tidy.
Yeah, it's decent. I mean, I had a long stint on radio with Tom Joyner So that kept me in touch and kept me relevant with people who knew me from the Comic View days. But also, I'm very active on my social, and I don't just promote. I try to blend it with humor and information as well as my stand up. I just really started to incorporate more of my stand up because I kind of like the people to see it live for the first time. But I figured, what the hell, there's more people on the net than there are in the seats.
That's true.
So let's play to the larger audience.
Yes, sir.
Damon, I wanted to talk to you about being a part of Tom Joyner's show, and because
that's unbelievable.
We've seen a lot of comedians. They become either a regular guest or a part of some nationally syndicated radio show,
and world radio guys too that left to do podcasts.
But it's huge for their self promotion, and it like if you're going to put a dollar amount to it, cool. I mean you could see it. I mean you could quantify it because they have an advertising dollar amount that they charge, and when you see that, you're like, well, this sponsor is paying this much for a 30-second live read, and I'm getting a whole segment to promote myself for essentially, depending on the deal, sometimes free, sometimes they'll even pay you a small amount, but it's like the amount of promotion I'm getting from being involved in the show is huge.
And not only a show, the Tom Joyner morning show, which to me, like World Radio Cats, I'm the lifer that like loves the craft of radio. And where Tom earned it for me was when he was doing the 2 shows and flying back and forth.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think any broadcaster's ever done that. Like he was doing a morning show and then doing an evening show, and I think he was crushing it in the ratings and on all fronts, but he was flying west to east and just destroying. And to me, I think he's up there with Stern. He's up there with Rush. I'm not saying you have to agree with what they were talking about. I'm just saying these are the guys.
So, Damon, and I know, okay, so this is a more complicated question.
Yeah, sorry, we're going to pile on because we did do research, so it's going to be long questions. Sorry.
But because we've been in radio, we got to know the business. So you're a part of the show, and then because you're a part of it, you start seeing how much.
He's the funny chair.
But how much money it makes. So there's 2 parts. One, you're getting an insane amount of free promotion, but on the other end, you're like, well, hold on. This show is generating millions a year, and I should be compensated for it. But then they're like, well, you get a bunch of promotion, but you're like, hold on. This is I'm making you money because this whole
and Tom needs a jet to fly. So that's expensive. Yeah, he needs a jet.
How do you what did you think? Just being a part of such a big show, getting all the free promotion, but also knowing that the show is generating millions of dollars.
Well, only initially did I do the show for free. For 2 years, I had a feature called Seriously Ignorant News. And it was 5 minutes a week. But in that 5 minutes, one of the minutes was, Damon, where are you playing this weekend?
There you go.
And so that was, invaluable. But after doing it for 2 years and going into a studio in Inglewood in Chicago, which is, can be sketchy at 5 and 4:30 in the morning. Actually, I think I was even up before the criminals, so it was okay. But, it paid off because I eventually got a paid position. So I got paid to do the feature, plus made money from doing the feature, plus got the promotion. Plus, I have an invaluable relationship with Tom Joyner. To this day, we're friends. And to say Tom Joyner is my friend and I go to his house and, and he's a radio Hall of Fame legend, and I enjoy the craft. I enjoy doing it. Plus, being in radio keeps you abreast of all the current events. I still do a call-in show right now, a call-in feature for a Cleveland radio station, WZAK, for my man Sam Silk, a Chicago guy, called That's What I Think, and it gives me an opportunity. They feed me headlines every Tuesday and Thursday, and I can incorporate that in my act. So it keeps the muscle tight. So there are a lot of advantages. I tell any comedian, if you can get yourself on a live broadcast of any sort, do it. Even if you have to do it for free, it's like an internship, but it also in turn pays you.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right.
That's why he's done 30 years in the business, and these are things that people don't think about.
But Damon, as you know, a lot of comedians wouldn't be willing to work for 2 years for free to even get that opportunity because that's a grind. I mean, even getting up that early and doing consistently for that long,
staying motivated,
you got to be a grinder for that. And I obviously, with your success and being in the business for 30 years and with your career, you're just you got to be a grinder, correct? Like, were you born this way? Were you born to just, continually day to day work hard?
Yeah, I mean, I come from an era of shoveling snow and raking leaves and carrying groceries for money. I sold a little weed. I've been hustling a long time.
But
So,
but you also
so that
you were one of the youngest like
Yes.
Subway franchise owners in Chicago, correct?
in the chain period, actually, at
Ah.
25, I opened the Subway downtown Chicago. I was one of the youngest and one of the first minority owners, and that was in 1990, before Jared became the
I
spokesperson.
like how everybody has
Yeah,
to say that now.
pre-Jared,
Does
yeah.
it? When you look at Subway, do you have any connections there anymore? Do you still have that, or did you get out of that entirely?
Nah, man, I left with a bitter taste because I think there was collusion. I think they thought I was still selling weed out of my Subway. So, Subway is supposed to help you when your store is fledgling, but they didn't really come in. They just combined my store with another owner and gave him my financials, and he knew how much to offer me to buy me out, which was a blessing because that's where I found stand up.
There you go.
And, I wanted to be a franchise owner, but I thought I was just going to open a store and be out on my boat. But I was in there baking bread and making sandwiches and working fast food for long
Yes.
hours, and that's not my dream job. And I say this, I got in too early as far as franchises visibility. At that time, they were just trying to expand franchise numbers and not really make healthy stores. And it was before the Jared phenomenon. Jared, when he lost all that weight, that turned that franchise around. When I had a Subway, he was just a fat pedophile nobody knew.
The Damon, I'm curious what
That's awesome.
what did you do at the beginning of the pandemic when that first hit? Because we haven't talked to you since then.
Right.
What did you work on different projects? I know a lot of comedians took at least some a year off, but
Some moved to the farm. Some,
and some just worked in Texas and Florida where
Right.
nothing stopped. But did you work on a different project? Did you just keep grinding?
Yeah, it became a very survival mode scenario. So initially, I went into shock, because when COVID hit, I was on probably one of the last performances to take place at all in Vegas before they shut the strip. And so most of the casinos were closing down around us as we were completing our show. And that's when I knew it was very serious. So I said, okay, this is it. Comedy is done. I even said it on stage. I'm like, we might not be back, period. This could be the last comedy show in Vegas. So then I went into social media, because we were all united through social media. And we were thinking a lot of comedians were doing shows at home and putting their Cash App up in their comments, doing stand up in front of a curtain to nobody. I didn't go that route.
Yeah.
But what I did do is first I did a talent competition for people online just to keep the engagement. And my followers started to go up because people were, videoing their favorite joke or doing silly things. Then I started playing music like D-Nice was doing. And I had a happy hour just for my own sanity. Once a day for an hour or two, I'm playing music and interacting with my people on live. Then I started getting Zoom shows. And then we started figuring out as summer rolled around how to do outdoor shows like drive-in. So we had a show where the people sat in their cars, but they could hear the show. They would blow their horns as opposed to laughing. That's how you know they were enjoying it. So it was a lot of pivoting
cool.
taking place. Yeah.
So I mean, what that just tells me that like I've said before, you're a hard worker.
Yeah.
You just you
Well,
keep
the
at
You
it.
adapt to the.
Yeah,
You
the
adapt
real
to the
ones
rhythm.
adapt. Exactly. The guys that have been doing it 30 years that really care about this stuff will just adapt and carry on.
So what I'm trying to get to, Damon, is I'm trying to recognize if any, like I got two sons, and I have this theory that you either are a hard worker at heart or you
But at
just
birth,
don't.
really, right?
yeah, but like you just got that drive in you, or
Well,
you don't,
isn't-
which is fine. Some
Isn't
people
your
don't.
son like that too? Like you have a son, and isn't he a musician? And because I thought I heard one of his songs on your Instagram or something.
Yeah, my son he got into the music creative side, but he's also a social activist and a mentor, and believes in power to the people and trying to have police reforms and social
Wow.
justice reforms. So he's very active. My son Damon A. Williams, you can look him up, and that song is called "Messy Moments." Well, if I get the shameless plug,
Yeah, do it.
but I instilled that in him. But also, I feel like sometimes if we overcompensate for some of my hustle came from necessity. There were, some dire times in my youth where, my mother had some situations going on with her own life. So we had to go through it and hustle. But if what happens when you're that person, you try to prevent your kid from having that experience, and you sometimes take away their drive because they have comfort. So you have to have a balance between, but then it is innate. I mean, like there are some kids that gonna have one particular skill and different personality, type A, type B personality. So if you have two sons, man, and one of them is hustling, the other one isn't, just make them hang together and they can absorb each other's good quality.
Okay,
well, this is the problem.
Well, they're codependent.
Now the one that hustles has been hanging with the lazy one, and the lazy one has turned the hustling one into double lazy. What do we do?
It's easier to drift towards laziness because I feel like that's the easier route.
And Damon, I have the opposite problem. My daughter is as driven as her mother. And her mother, my wife, she crushes it. She's jumping jobs and getting promotions and doing that and the other thing. I haven't seen my daughter in the last 4 weeks because she's just out getting jobs and working, and I don't see her.
I was going to ask you that, Damon. It's you brought up a good point about offering your kids too much comfort, but it's hard to make them uncomfortable.
Same thing Miss Pat told you.
But that is like, especially like, okay, you make a good living. You're like, they're not in danger. They have a roof over their head. They have enough money for food.
Water,
they don't feel like they're gonna run out of anything. You know what I'm saying? Like
they go to school.
They got comfort, but so if you have that, because that's all you want for your kids, right? Especially if you grew up uncomfortable, but then you're like, this could be making you not as ambitious or effective, or this could be turning you like with anything you say.
What is it preparing you for is what I would ask.
But how do you do that?
It could go two ways. What it could do is, if you give a person that type of comfort, then they strive to maintain that and want to live that way, because once they see that they don't have it, it's hard to deal with. So that could happen, so don't feel like you have to, put them through struggle, but you got to give them some type of reward, system where they earn something somehow, that there's a reward system for doing what is required of them. And then it's about relationship and instilling it in them verbally. Look, when I came up, this is what I went through. But a lot of times we try to fight their battles. Like my son, to this day, is still not really super capable when it comes to his car. We had to practically build our cars coming up. We knew how to get under the hood and work on stuff. My son will call AAA for a flat, and I'm like, dude, it's a jack in there. You got to learn this stuff. I'll go and help him. But while I'm helping him, I'll make him watch so that he learns and tell him the next time you're on your own. That's the way to do it.
Man, being an 80s dad was so much easier because all you had to do was stick around.
Just be a dad.
And you didn't even have to do much of anything. You're like, keep them alive, stick around. Then you were dad of the year.
Don't put a cigarette out on them or something.
Or watching 70s dads operate, they didn't have to do a damn thing but work. They didn't have to worry about chores. They didn't have to cook. They didn't have to worry where the kids were. They just had to be home by dark. The kid could be into all type of mess. So, you just send them out and you hope they make it back.
Yeah, that's true. 70s dad, I'm a 76, 70s dad would come in and just wave to mom and eat the dinner and go to bed.
Yeah, but you didn't have But I like the little bit of a relationship with your kids. Like, you start going too far.
Where you're going wrong.
You start going too far back. You're just like, people didn't even know who their dad was. They didn't know his personality. They were just a guy that came home every once in a while you were scared of.
Exactly.
He'd come home in the middle of the night. You'd hear him kick the dog.
Yeah, right. The car pull up. You run up to your room. Uh-oh, here comes that man. But so you gotta have balance. You gotta be stern when you need to be, but you want to be have a relationship, but you just don't want to try to be your kid's friend. You want to set an example. You want to be their hero, but you can't be on the same level because they'll run all over you.
That's his number one thing, and he gets run over. He's getting run over right now. He's currently getting run over.
Them too, man. You got to snap. You might not hit them, but hit something nearby. Right, Right, slap a coffee pot off the counter or something. Snap out. Let them know that man exists.
Slap a coffee pot off the counter.
I raised my voice one time. Tommy started crying.
In the car. In the car.
No, it was at home, and then Max was bitching about something. And I was like, "That's it." And then,
I can't take it anymore.
And it was like I went crazy. Like I was the dad from Shining.
You raised your voice and they cried?
Well, yeah, because I never do it.
Oh, my God. I yell in Maisie's face with my nose touching hers like we're about to fight MMA.
Anyway, sorry to talk to you about parenting, Damon.
Well, no, it's cool because I'm a parent, and I get it. But, also when you raise your voice, you got to have a little bass in it. They might have cried because of the high pitch I just heard.
That's true. That's true. You have to be.
A few glasses broke as well.
Well, Damon, thanks so much for talking to us. We appreciate it.
Appreciate it, man.
The Improv Orlando, 2 shows on Friday,
yes,
2
sir.
shows on Saturday. Get your tickets and go see Damon Williams at the Improv. Yeah. We appreciate it, man.
Definitely. And people look me up, DamonWilliamsComedy.com. They'll get you all my social links and such. But I'm coming to bring the pain, man. I like to hurt your face and tighten your abs. Trust me, if you come to one of my shows, you won't need the gym this weekend. I'm not just saying that. That is my goal. Ever since I saw Eddie Murphy live twice do stand up and I left there physically in pain, I strive to do that.
Awesome.
Oh, man, I hit the wrong button. Sorry, I didn't want you to think that.
I
didn't mean to go to the fish tank during the big plug. I'm not that good at this. I'm not that good at this.
Well, Damon, take it easy, and we'll talk to you soon, okay?
All right. You put some bass in your voice.
All right. We'll do it. We'll do it. Take care, Damon. That is Damon Williams, live from, nice black leather couch. It looked like casting couch style. I was like, where are you? Is there a man videoing you, Damon, on the other side? Is that the casting couch man? Has he got a blue dress shirt on and nothing else?
Yeah. The bass in my voice, or learning how to.
Well, you're not a yeller guy. You're not a yelling guy.
No.
I don't yell at Maisie, but she's not. It doesn't scare her. Like if she heard me yelling about something, it's not like she's like, "Whoa, what is that?"
The problem is, I would if they did bad things constantly, but they don't.
Well,
so they don't give me the opportunity.
And I'm not
to
saying
yell at
I
them.
know they're not bad kids, absolutely, and this is not what I'm saying. But do you also think that you have a small dose of just thinking anything they do is not do like they do everything you say the first time?
No, hell no.
All right, well then you can yell a little bit to speed up the process of cleaning up stuff. That's kind of where I'm coming from. I'm not saying they do anything bad. I'm just saying the times that I yell at Maisie are usually like, hey, why aren't you doing that? Your mom asked you to do that 30 minutes ago. It's a little bit of that. It's like a little bit of yelling there. Maybe practice there.
Yeah, but I typically don't yell. I just talk to them because I figure.
But are they doing it? If you're just talking to them, are they following through?
No,
okay.
That's the problem. I'm like, come on.
Well, that's good. I like that. It was bass. I heard the bass.
Yeah. They don't listen the first time and they're just staring at the TV or whatever. Every morning.
Do you ever do the move where you just turn off the TV to get their attention?
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, you got to do that.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorites. I love when Maisie's like into it and I'm like talking to her and she doesn't understand that I'm talking to her and I'll just turn the TV off and it breaks the link. She's like, what? Oh, I love it.
I will tell you, I know maybe people not interested in parenting tips for me because I'm a horrible parent. But we found out some weird psychology. Okay, so we give them an hour of video game time every day, right? As long as
that's what Andrea gives me. I love it.
They finish their homework or whatever and the things they have to do before they start. So we got that out of them. We used like, hey, you can get this hour, but you got to finish this. Like, do your homework, do this, and then you get the hour.
Perfect.
So, but it was a fight every day. It was driving Crystal crazy because every time the hour would be up, like the Alexa alarm would go off, and Crystal would be like, all right, your hour's up. And they'd be like, oh, no! And it was like we're killing them. And they'd be like, no! Max, because Max can't control his emotions. He's emotional. So he's
I'm like Max.
He gets mad, and Tommy...
I'll start crying. Andrea turns the TV off, I'll start crying.
And then, and Crystal's like, I can't take it anymore.
Oh, yes.
You guys got to stop. Like,
you need to get in there and yell at him, and you're like, I'll call you.
No, I'll be like, if you keep acting like this every time the hour's up, we're not going to give it to you anymore. It was a constant fight, right? So then Crystal's like, I'm just going to set their iPads where they turn off after an hour. Yeah. And then they can't turn them back on, whatever. And then I was like, well, they'll be real pissed. So she did that. I'm like, oh, wait for it. And then when technology just cut them off, they just wandered out and started doing other things.
Yeah,
like they didn't freak out as much.
Yeah.
And we learned that it was because Crystal telling them they had to stop and then them being able to keep doing it or whatever. Like,
well, they also can, like, they have recourse. They don't have any recourse with the thing just turning off. You can't argue or cry.
But
and also,
they can argue and scream to turn it back on.
That's
right?
what I thought
That's
they
what I would have
do.
thought
well,
too.
but
yeah.
they would do it
didn't.
to Crystal, but Crystal wasn't saying it.
It was
just turning itself off.
It was
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, you would be like, "Mom, fix this" or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I assumed was
Yeah.
going to happen. To be like, it's not going to be any different.
But did she tell them? Did she go in there and say, "Okay, well, guys, the next time you do this, these things are going to turn off automatically"?
Oh, we told them that, and then they're like, "Okay," because they're just like me, where
They'll say whatever to get the fix.
Well,
yeah.
I'll do whatever it takes.
Sure, fine, Dad.
But also, when you tell them repercussions tomorrow, it might as well be a million years
Yeah.
away. Like they're like,
Yeah.
all right, well, as
Oh,
long-
they're addicts.
yeah.
If you do this, you're gonna go to jail. Okay.
But also, it's instant gratification. It's just
Yeah.
all kids have like they just want instant gratification. You tell them something tomorrow, they're like, oh, whatever. I'll take the punishment tomorrow for instant gratification. Anyway, we told them about that. I was like, no way, this will work. It works.
Oh, that's
And
awesome.
when it automatically shuts off, they'll just wander out and start doing their own thing, and there's not a fight anymore.
Sunlight.
Yeah,
Zombies.
yeah, and never thought I would have bet against that working, but it freaking worked.
Yeah, I mean, I guess like it's
don't
the
try
path
it.
of least resistance, right? Yeah, everybody should try that.
A
A lot of people don't know about the timers.
Yeah. Although it does, like, it's the P word way out of it. As far
Why?
as like if you were like just a
What's-
real parent with the parenting skills, the discipline skills, you could just your word should be the final word, and that's it.
Well, you
And
have
then
to
if
be
they-
okay with it, though. See, that's on your end. It's not just parenting is not just one-sided, right? Like, and if you guys aren't okay with saying that, a lot of people aren't.
No,
You
no,
know,
we,
I
we
mean-
did. It's just that it didn't seem like it was ever going to stop. And then, like, it was just an automatic reaction, especially for Max, because he's emotional.
You also have to let them be emotional, I think, in some ways, and just not react to it at all, because the emotion is only being to me. Again, there's parenting tips from the two worst guys, but it's like the only reason that emotion is being shown to you is to try and guilt
Get a
trip you into
reaction,
changing your
yeah.
reaction.
Yeah,
if you act as if that's not even happening, which is what I do with Maisie, like when Maisie's doing stuff like that, I'll just look at her and be like, oh yeah, I'm not even gonna act like you're even around right now. I'm literally vaporizing you in my mind.
Oh,
and I
ignoring
go,
it,
and
yeah.
and then
I can ignore it.
she'll stop that. Other
Yeah.
people can't.
It was bothering Crystal because she's emotional.
Yep.
And then Max
I think
is-
that's a mom thing because Andrea's like that too.
Yeah. Max was preying on that. And then it's funny to see like,
The manipulation
Well,
aspects of
no,
it, I
no.
do love that.
that Tommy and Max, they'll get into similar fights or like arguments that me and Crystal will get into, and it's just a unemotional person versus an emotional person.
Yeah.
And then like yesterday, Tommy and Max were playing outside, playing cars. And then
Love cars.
Max wanted the rules to be the cars could fly. And then Tommy is like, I don't like those rules.
Yeah, I don't like fun, and cars are
Oh
with
my
the rubber
God.
on the ground.
He doesn't like
Yeah,
fun.
cars can't fly, you idiot.
And then Max got upset. And then Tommy's like, I don't know why you're getting so upset. It's
Yeah.
like,
Cars can't fly. Everyone knows that, Max.
And then Max stormed off.
I would've stormed off.
And then Tommy's like, I can't take this anymore. Like, I don't understand why Max gets so mad over something so small. And then I laugh and laugh. Because I'm like, and then I try to tell Tommy, hey, Crystal hates this, by the way, because she doesn't understand that Tommy was born this way. And then she still wants to attribute my being the way I am by some sort of like.
Yeah, you were struck by lightning, or
No, like something happened to me and then caused me to be this way. And now that I've seen Tommy,
it's possible though.
it is possible, for people.
I mean, just
And there are ways to evolve. It's not like you have to be stuck that
of
way.
course.
Tom says,
Wait, but I feel like you're going to back up and enable Tommy to be that way.
I
Well,
mean, you're watching it happen.
To be like,
I
well,
mean,
you were born that way, son.
yeah,
No way to
there's
change
nothing
it. And
you
it's
can
like,
do.
That's not necessarily true.
Well,
but-
that's my argument of like, if you're born a certain way, why are you trying to change that person? I'm like,
to be a better person?
yeah, to be, I guess to be
More
be able to-
but
well-rounded?
better
Yeah,
is
to
subjective.
navigate the world easier, maybe.
Like I would make the argument that being too emotional is
Sure, there's a
actually
happy medium.
hinders you, or
it can.
It-
It doesn't have to.
any emotional decision is a flawed decision to me. Like your decisions should be 100% logical. In my
not
mind.
in every case.
Not in every case, you're true, but
See, we can't ever talk in like
Absolutely,
yeah,
yeah.
you can't.
But I would think emotion actually affects your decision making negatively more than positively.
Unless you're talking to your wife.
Yes, and if you're talking love, that's a whole different story, and that's the problem. Where
And emotion, though, is not just love, though. Emotion can be, there are so many different facets of, like, feeling things.
And being able to empathize.
Yeah,
with
I
people.
mean, like,
no, but empathy is different than like anger, right? Like,
Sure.
When does anger help you?
But not all anger is bad, Like, it's just like saying all stress is bad. You can't say that.
No.
Like going to the gym is stressing your muscles, like not all anger. Some anger can be a tool for you to use as a motivation.
Yeah.
Some anger can, help you flesh out other feelings that you have because you need to work through that anger first to get to the other things. Eliminating anything to the point of extinction, I don't think is a good choice.
The chat wants to know, does Tom believe in gut instincts?
No.
Okay.
Now your gut instincts can be right, but what do you mean? But like, I believe people's gut instincts are maybe more correct than not correct, but there's no,
science behind
yeah,
anything?
it's science behind a gut instinct. Although it could be your gut instinct is your brain doing 1,000 micro calculations based on
That's
experience.
kind of what I think.
And then it's more complicated than just like,
A
hey,
feeling.
it's coming from my gut. Saying gut also makes it
trivializes it a bit, right?
but it dismisses its
Yeah.
validity because really it's your brain instinct. It's your initial first reaction instinct, which is probably based on your brain knowing something from your past and doing some calculations, right? But
I
a
could
lot
see
of
that,
people,
yeah.
if you go towards gambling, people's gut are horribly wrong. And then they should never be. You should always do math when it.
Well, it also means
towards
different things to
gambling.
different people.
Exactly. Yeah.
You
So
know what I
it's
mean?
that's all over the place. But back to Tommy being unemotional. I tell Crystal, I'm like, he was like, this is the way his personality is. So why try?
Yeah.
I could help him navigate through an emotional world that he's going to go through, like I did. But I'm not going to try to force some sort of emotion or to him to be different. Why?
No, I get it.
I don't want to do
I
that
think
to Max either. It's like, I just want to help them with their own personality, figure out what's the best way to navigate this.
I think
world
the
through
problem and where the breakdown with this comes is that when you're the person saying that, well, look, obviously he was born this way, then the chat room, Sam, I think, other people that listen to the show go, well, why would you know that? Because you're like that? Well, you're not a doctor. You're not a personality, scientist of any way or specialist in any way. It's like I say a lot of things that I think I know, but I don't know anything of what I'm talking about. And I think that's
opinion, yeah.
it's an opinion. I
Yeah.
think that's what people say when you say that. I'm just
No,
arguing the other side.
No, of course.
I see it, but I also, I don't know what to think because that's not my field.
No, 100%. I've been with my sons basically every day of their life and saw them since
But they've
birth.
also been with you every day of their lives. Do you not think that
And my
some
wife.
of your actions and behaviors influence them?
I do, but I think their base personality has been that way since birth. And same thing with Maisie. Me and Daniel have talked about this. The way Maisie is now, and the way she is, yes, it definitely could be influenced by you and Andrea's behavior. But
I think there's some of that, yeah.
the fact that I have two kids even makes me believe it more because they're both totally different and they both grew up in the exact same scenario for the most part. And they both were treated the same. I mean, they both
Well,
bathed
first kid,
and
second
slept.
kid's always different, though.
It's always different.
Yeah,
It
first
does-
kid,
That
second
doesn't
kid,
matter.
like the way
They're 14 months apart. I mean, they
think
So
the-
are me and both of my brothers.
Yeah, but I
and
think
we're
the-
all different.
No, but that's what it tells me, that it's more you were born this way than it is that you were raised by your environment.
I
You
mean,
know what I'm saying?
I think you guys are way more.
You definitely treat your kids differently subconsciously, whether you know it or not.
Not enough to change their base personality that much.
Well, you had more experience when you had Max, so you obviously treated him differently because you already went through all the mistakes and stuff with Tommy.
well, that's what I was going to say. Is that like, yeah, it seemed like I would say you guys are baby Tommy more just on outwardly appearing to watch it. You guys
'Cause
had
it's the firstborn.
You had the
and-
handle on it when Max came along. I mean, you guys were good to go. It didn't seem it wasn't the struggle of the like, oh, what are we doing? This is crazy. You guys
Are we doing this right?
got it
Yeah.
dialed in, pretty good. I think what you're seeing here, though, is, and I think this is where there's any pushback on your argument, is that no amount of us even discussing this is ever going to change your mind from thinking that you have figured it out and that Tommy and you are exactly like this because you were born this way.
And Tommy and Max will both change as they grow.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah.
I think you've decided that this is what you figured out, and that's okay. I just think that there will be people that will be like, well, why do you think you know this? Well, of course he thinks he knows that. It's his kid.
Tom knows everything.
And he's the dad.
Yeah. But also, I'm not telling you this because I set in my ways. I'm telling you this based on the experience that I had.
Right.
It's factual to you.
Yeah.
Correct.
And it seemed, I would bet, if there was a way to prove it, I would bet an insane amount on it. $10,000 cash, that this is the way.
Yeah.
Now, it's
I'm not as...
It's impossible to really prove that I'm right or wrong. It's just...
That's why the whole nature versus nurture argument still goes on.
Not impossible. It won't be impossible because I was telling Crystal this last night because she doesn't like the fact that Tommy's a lot like me because she doesn't like my personality, or she thinks it hinders me.
Well, hold on. Why'd she marry you if she doesn't like you? That's a whole other discussion.
She loves them. The way he says things
She'd
sometimes
rather be
is
different.
so cold.
But I told Crystal, I was like, well, we'll know the answer in 20 years.
You will, yeah.
Because in 20 years, if these two men are damn near the same personality they were since we watched them, since they were born, basically. We watched Crystal shows me videos of Tommy when he was 1 year old, and we're like, that. Look at Tommy in there. Like, he is, like, even when Max we introduced Max to Tommy for the first time. Tommy's 14 months old, right? We brought Max home, and we're like, look, it's your baby brother. And Tommy's like staring off. He's like, all right. It wasn't that big of a deal to him, And Max has always been over emotional and like more than Tommy. It was weird because we just saw how Tommy behaved as a 2-year-old, and then seeing Max right behind him in the next year, and we're like, man, these kids are different.
Do you talk about it in front of them at all? Like, do they know that you guys are having like these sort of like these little discussions about it? Because I always worry about that. They know. Well, I worry about that in front of May too. Like, I don't want her thinking that I want her to be a certain way because I'm talking to Andrea about that. If that makes sense.
No.
I don't discuss that kind of stuff in front of her because I don't want her changing anything or any way that she reacts.
Yeah, being in her head about it.
There's a scenario that I could see where Tommy idolizes you so much, and he sees how you are, and he sees you guys talking about this, where he's like, well, maybe I need to act like this because this is how my dad is, and I really love my dad, so why wouldn't I want to act like my dad? And they talk about this and how I am, so I guess I'm that way. I always worry about that, but I'm also an emotional person.
I do not believe this is a conscious decision, just like I said, based on the fact that when he was 2 and 1.5 and things like that, it's like he's not making a conscious decision about his personality at 2. He's not like looking at.
I don't even know how you would see that. I mean, that's amazing, man. Like,
well, because Crystal took 10,000 hours of video of them.
Yeah, I know, but I must be an idiot because when I look at any
but
video,
all they're doing is absorbing everything and observing everything around them. There's little sponges, so they are actually forming their personality by what they see and how they interact with things.
They are, but they form two different personalities.
Everyone's going to have a different personality, though.
I know, because they're based on how they were born. Their personality, I believe, is ingrained in you at birth. And then in what I've seen with my kids. And and there's no explanation to, okay, well, Tommy absorbed more than Max, and that's why they're different. It's like,
I don't even know how you would...
No. They're born that way, dude.
Grade that.
Born that way. Yeah. You're born every way you are, right? You're born gay, you're born straight, you're born...
That's what I believe.
Asexual. You're born however you are. Nothing's changing you, right? So if you were born gay... And you weren't created gay. That's the whole argument, right?
Well, but the things can be...
no one can create some person gay or straight.
But
you're born with it.
But you can hide how you truly are based on your surroundings and the things around you, right?
You can hide it, but I'm just saying you were born the way you are. So why not you were born with the way your personality is?
I don't know. I don't...
At the core.
Yeah,
I'm saying it could change, but
I see some of that. Like, I see some of it with Maisie. I definitely see the differences between like what Andrea seemingly gave her and what I gave her. You know, traits. Like I can see both in her, but I don't know. I don't know how that works. You're above my pay grade.
Yeah. Your genetics, and then science will tell you it's like a 50-50 split, or it could be, it gets super.
I think there's different variations of it too. You know, like I think maybe somebody, it's in there, but maybe they're taking a lot longer to develop because obviously everybody's different when they do develop.
When I was talking to Crystal last night, I was like, I think it's people reject it mainly because it kind of notion takes the power away from you, like of
there's
who
nothing
you are.
we can do.
And it gives you a lot of people your personality, say if it's good or bad or whatever, you want to attribute it to something. So if it's like bad, you're like, well, it's because of
you're
this.
You're human. You want a reason. Yeah.
Yes, because of this. I mean, everybody like
the human characteristic is to find the reason and reason it out.
Someone dies of lung cancer, you're like, oh well, did they smoke?
Yeah.
Like
you start running the progressions like a quarterback.
You want to know the reason. You're like, well, why was this person like this? And you're like, oh, this happened to him. That's why. And then it could be they're just born like that.
Yeah. None of the stuff to end on maybe it's funny to me. None of the stuff that I gave Maisie is good. Everything.
No, it is.
Okay.
Come on.
It's I mean, creativity. I'll give her that one. That's all I got.
Well, that's real good.
No, not real good. I mean, I gave her anxiety. I gave her the time anxiety. I gave her the full-blown regular big fat anxiety.
Yeah, but you can give her the tools to learn because you've learned the tools to deal with anxiety.
She got my thin hair.
Backpacking on what you just said, he can give her the tools to deal with that, right?
Yeah,
you can give you can't give Tommy the tools because you haven't worked on your personality because you're like, that's just how I am.
Well, I'm too old
now. You
gotta
learn the tools. No, you're not. You can learn the tools
He's
now
too old.
and then pass them on to your
This is
child.
where I agree with Tom. Too old. He's too
I have no reason to.
He's 40 years old.
You have two reasons to.
Oh,
your children.
Look at oh my God, that's a Dr. Phil moment. I'm supposed to stand up and clap. Hold on.
Yeah.
Do I have clapping?
But my personality is not doing any damage to my kids. I mean,
my God, you get a free Ricky Lake T-shirt for that.
I would love a Ricky Lake T-shirt.
They've probably got them on eBay.
Like an old vintage.
But I take offense a little bit because it is kind of like, oh, your personality is not like the rest of us. You got to change. How is that fair to me? It's like society
well,
telling.
You're saying that nobody else is changing. I feel like everybody that is a good person or is trying to be a good person is trying to change to be a better person. That's part of growing up, right?
Going today at 4:00 to try and change.
Yeah. No one's saying, hey, we're not going to change. You have to change. It's like, no, we should all work on each other.
Of course,
right?
to be a better person, but I am the best.
Right. You wanted the best.
You got me. I like that.
Boom! That was my sleeves blowing off. All right, bye-bye.
I love it when we talk about, wait, what? We're right. That was a horrible ending, Dan. I fell off my chair.
I can clip when he said bye-bye before you go.
Yeah, you got me. I was like, what? My God, that's funny.
Are we doing anything else? Or we're just going to do Cadillac Pad at 1? That's Friday 1 and 2.
All right.
We can do the intro for this now if you want.
Hey, Damon was super nice.
Yeah.
What a nice man. ACT.
The big fat pedophile was hilarious.
I
did not expect him to say that.
I got involved. We had Jared when he's fat, big fat pedophile. That was funny. I didn't expect it either because he's a relatively clean dude, like that was really funny. All right, we're not doing anything else?
No, we don't have to do it.
Cool.
We'll just do Cadillac Pad for next week.
10, 20. Well, nice job. I love it when we talk about that stuff.
Yeah, because there's no right answer is all.
But it's a never-ending. Man, I do feel bad though when I see the stuff that I gave Maisie. I gave you the worst traits. For instance, like one of the cool things I gave Maisie is she can talk a made-up language. The Tashka Pompi, when I make up dumb words, her and I can go riff all day long back and forth and make it sound like we're from a different country. And Andrea hates it, and she can't do it. Is that that's not a good skill to have?
Yeah,
it's a nonsense.
It's part of creativity.
You're also bonding.
Last night we laid on the floor and sang a song called Fartman. I have told Andrea we're going to change Dansby's name to Fartman. Andrea just looks at us like we're idiots.